Hello everybody, say hi to Desi here. Last week, okay, say goodbye to Desi. Last week we covered how to play the major scale on the guitar, and this week I want to go over how to apply the major scale to make chords and chords progressions and all the good, because scales are so much more than just a box shape that you learn to play on the guitar, and to explain what I mean by all that, I'm going to bring you over to the piano again a little bit, so come on. So today we're going to stay in the key of C, and if you remember back to those early lessons, the beginner series that we did, you'll remember me saying that a chord is made up of 3 notes, and that it alternates each letter name. So you'd have C major as C, E, G, and then going up that way you have D minor, D, F, A, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, B diminished, and back to C. And the 2 chord progressions that we've already covered on this channel are what we call a 1-4-5. So you'd have the first chord, and then the second chord would start on the 4th note of the scale, so you'd have F, and then move up 1 to the 5th, which is G. And then there was the 1-6-4-5, which is a personal favorite of mine, classic doo-wop progression. You have the 1, 6, 4, 5. And we initially learned that in the key of G as opposed to C, and that's because G is just a little bit more accessible on the guitar, especially for beginners, and you'll see what I mean by that in a minute. But right now let's make up a new chord progression. Let's start on C. Let's go to D minor, that's 2. A minor, 6. And then we'll cap it off with the last measure, doing 4, 5, and back to 1. So let's see how that sounds on the guitar and see what we can work with. So now we're going to learn that chord progression on the guitar. And there are a few of them that we already know, and we're going to learn a couple of new ones here. So we're going to start with the C chord. Then we're going to do that for 4 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to switch to D minor. You take your first finger, put it on the 1st fret of the 1st string. 1, 1, 1. Second finger goes on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string, and then your 3rd finger goes on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string. With the not low D, just regular D, the D underneath it. Then we're going to have A minor, where you're going to play your open A. Your 2nd finger is going to go on the 2nd fret of the 4th string, the D string. 3rd finger is going to go on the 2nd fret of the G string, and then your 1st finger is going to go on the 1st fret of the B string, the 2nd string, and then you have your open E. So all together, and each of those is going to go for 4 beats as well. So far we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to do F and G. Now, F is a little bit tricky, especially for some newcomers to the guitar, because it involves a technique called barring. And what you're going to do is you're going to take your 1st finger and lay it across the 1st fret of the 1st and 2nd string so that you're playing them both with 1 finger. And then your 2nd finger is going to go on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string, and your 3rd finger is going to go on the 3rd fret of the 4th string. No open strings on this one, just these 4 notes. And then we're going to switch to G, which you already know. Now the switch between F and G can be really difficult. I would suggest getting used to it sooner than later because it's a fairly common chord change, but if it's too difficult for you, for the purposes of this lesson, you can always use those power chords we talked about. So if you want to do an F and G power chord for the time being, you just take your power chord shape and you root it on the 1st fret of the low E string, and then move it up to the 3rd fret of the low E string, and then back to C. So all in all, right now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, D minor, 2, 3, 4, A minor, 2, 3, F, G, back to C. We made that chord progression out of just those 7 notes that we played on the piano. Isn't that cool? And again, if you have a way to record yourself, whether it's on your phone or a computer or whatever, you can play that chord progression a few times and use the box shape that we learned last week to solo over it. And since I'm a good little Boy Scout, always prepared, I have the chord progression queued up in my looper already. C, D minor, A minor, F, and G. If you guys have any questions about this week's lesson, please hit me up in the comments. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And I just want to say one more thing before we wrap this video up, and that I know music theory can seem overwhelming sometimes, but ultimately it's a set of guidelines, not rules. And what I mean by that is that it's sort of a system for you to communicate your ideas to other musicians, or say if you wanted to write a song with a particular emotional feeling, or if you wanted to write a song in a particular music genre that you really like, theory is there to help you with that. But if you come up with an idea that you think sounds cool, but it doesn't fit into your current understanding of music theory, that's okay. The only real rule about music is if it sounds good, it is good. With all that in mind, guys, have fun, be safe, and I'll see you here next week.